Donald Trump marked 1 year into his second term on Friday, capping a turbulent first 12 months that has redrawn the contours of American politics, government, and public life.
Will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Within weeks of taking office, Trump signed a rush of executive orders aimed at shrinking the federal state, part of an aggressive push to rework how Washington functions and what it funds.
And we understand the objectives of government going forward.
That effort became symbolic under the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, led by Elon Musk, who pitched dramatic cuts as a reset of government itself. But the downsizing triggered immediate backlash, agencies shut or hollowed out, workers forced out, and demonstrations in Washington and beyond. DOGE was later disbanded in November 2025, but the political fight over the cuts has continued.
It's just common sense. It's not draconian or radical, I think. It's really just saying, let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people?
The USAID is really corrupt. I'll tell you, it's corrupt. It's incompetent and it's really corrupt.
Trump defended the changes and repeatedly targeted agencies he called corrupt or incompetent, as his administration pressed ahead with a broader campaign to reduce federal reach. Healthcare became another flashpoint.
And there's no sugarcoating this. These cuts will kill more Americans.
Robert Kennedy has elevated conspiracy theorists, crackpots, and grifters to make life or death decisions about the health care of the American people.
We are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job.
Senator Kennedy, do you know some people will die between those three authorizations? You're killing millions of people.
Did you, in fact, do what Director Monarez said you did, which is tell her to just go along with vaccine recommendations, even if she didn't think such recommendations aligned with scientific evidence?
And I never had a private meeting with her.
I couldn't be more pleased to announce that as of today, the COVID vaccine for healthy children and healthy pregnant women has been removed from the CDC recommended immunization schedule.
After Trump appointed vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead Health and Human Services, a move that critics said put science and public health protections at risk. Opponents warned cuts to research and shifts in vaccine guidance could have lethal consequences, while Kennedy argued the system needed restructuring and defended sweeping staffing changes. The administration also made one of its earliest, most politically loaded moves, pardoning more than 1,500 people tied to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, including the former leader of the far-right Proud Boys.
Charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers.
Trump framed the pardons as justice, while critics called them a dangerous signal about political violence. On the economy, Trump escalated his protectionist agenda, imposing and threatening broad tariffs on major trading partners, pitching them as leverage and revenue, while critics argued they would raise prices at home. Trade disputes widened, and Washington and its allies traded threats and countermeasures, with Trump arguing that his approach was forcing concessions.
In terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada, because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
You know, addressing some of those issues that we have, but also finding those areas of mutual cooperation so we can move forward.
So we'll effectively be charging a 25% tariff, but if you build your car in the United States, there is no tariff. And what that means is a lot of foreign car companies, a lot of companies are going to be in great shape because they've already built their plant.
I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate.
As the United States are applying tariffs worth $28 billion, we are responding with countermeasures worth 26 billion euros.
Well, the European Union has been speaking to us, Ursula and the whole group, and they've been very nice. They treated us very badly until recently. Now they're treating us very nicely. Thank you very much. So we have good news. We've reached a deal.
Immigration became the defining domestic battleground. Trump moved to shut down the southern border and expanded enforcement, while court fights intensified over the scope of presidential power.
And thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis.
Federal raids and deportations increased, including high-profile cases that drew scrutiny and protests, as Democrats and advocates accused the administration of overreach and wrongful removals. Tensions exploded in the streets as large demonstrations confronted federal deployments, including the use of troops and militarized personnel in U.S. cities, moves critics said broke legal precedent and deepened national division.
Seriously,
is it doctored or not doctored?
The importance that the president has given me.
Abrego Garcia has landed in the United States to face justice.
Cuando estuve detenido, siempre recordé momentos hermosos con mi familia, momentos de ir al parque, de ir al trampolín con mis hijos.
Across multiple states, crowds marched against ICE operations, arguing enforcement had become arbitrary and inhumane, while the administration insisted it was restoring law and order. The arrests of pro-Palestinian activists added another layer of controversy.
He's destroying one of our great states, and if I didn't get involved, if we didn't bring the Guard in, and we would bring more in if we needed it, because we have to make sure there's going to be law and order.
Fueling accusations that the administration was using immigration and policing powers to suppress dissent. Courts later ordered the release of several activists, citing a lack of legal basis for detention.
We need to stop the raids. This should not be happening in our city. It is not warranted, and the only thing it does is contribute to chaos. This was chaos that was started at Washington, D.C.
The year's most incendiary flashpoint came in Minnesota. The fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3, by an ICE agent in Minneapolis on January 7th. Federal authorities said the agent acted in self-defense, while Minnesota officials and protesters condemned what they called unrestrained violence. The shooting came during what Homeland Security described as its largest ever operation, with more than 2,000 federal officers deployed to the Minneapolis area, and it widened the rift between state leaders and the Trump administration as protests spread.
Chicago, Illinois is a disaster. I have property there. It's a disaster what's going on in Chicago. And you get Pritzker, he's violating our rights.
Maybe more. Might be more than 300 at this point. We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa.
Not only if they threaten me with detention, even if they would kill me, I would still speak up for Palestine.
Jesus.
Because this was an attack on federal law enforcement, this was an attack on law and order, this was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day.
into Donald Trump's second term, the clearest signal of how he wants to reshape America may be the one he put on display in the streets. In June 2025, on his birthday, troops and armored vehicles rolled through downtown Washington in a parade officially marking the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary, but widely criticized as Trump turning a national institution into a political stage.
If confirmed, I commit to provide the President and the Secretary of Defense my military advice, informed by the Joint Chiefs,
For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts.
That spectacle has been matched by a more consequential shift behind the scenes. Trump has pushed to reshape the military's leadership, breaking with long-held norms that try to keep the armed forces above politics.
We're going to set the tone for this country. America first, peace through strength, brought to you by the War Department.
We need Greenland for national security and even international security.
Trump's decision to fire top officials before their tenure ended, including Joint Chiefs Chairman Charles Q. Brown Jr., fueled fears among critics that the military was being pulled deeper into partisan territory.
They should be a state. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down.
And Canada never, ever will be part of America in any way, shape, or form.
And the administration's message has been blunt. The rebrand was made literal when Trump ordered the Department of Defense renamed the Department of War.
Is interest rates, because we have a Federal Reserve Chairman that is playing politics, somebody that I've never been very fond of, actually.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
That's our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president.
Well, he's billions of dollars over budget, so he either is incompetent or he's crooked. I don't know what he is, but he doesn't do a very good job.
With his defense secretary embracing the change, Trump's imprint has extended beyond Washington's bureaucracy to America's posture abroad, reviving ideas he floated early in his return to office, including renewed claims that the U.S. needs Greenland for security. The administration pointed to America's existing military footprint on the island, but allies have watched the rhetoric carefully. At home, Trump has leaned into symbolic fights too, even rebranding the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America, a change some outlets refused to adopt, prompting the White House to restrict access for the Associated Press. And it wasn't just Greenland. Trump repeatedly suggested Canada should become a U.S. state, an idea flatly rejected by Canada's incoming Prime Minister. On the economy, Trump has touted progress, but inflation has remained stubborn, and the president has trained his anger on the Federal Reserve. Trump has accused Fed Chair Jerome Powell of playing politics. The conflict spilled into public view during a tense exchange at the Fed over a renovation project, a dispute that became a new front in the battle over interest rates. In January 2026, Powell escalated dramatically, saying the Justice Department served the Fed with grand jury subpoenas and threatened a criminal indictment tied to his congressional testimony, and warning it was pressure to force rate cuts. Trump responded by attacking Powell personally, calling him incompetent or crooked. Trump also tried to reshape the Fed more directly, attempting to remove Governor Lisa Cook and replace her with his preferred candidates. Courts blocked the effort, reinforcing the Fed's legal insulation, even as the White House kept up the pressure campaign. Trump's signature legislative achievement of the year came in July, a sweeping tax cut and spending bill, the Big Beautiful Bill. Republicans celebrated it as an engine for growth. Democrats warned it would slash support like Medicaid and tilt benefits to the wealthiest.
The largest cut to Medicaid in American history. It will devastate vulnerable populations.
Even Elon Musk, who previously headed DOGE, publicly condemned the bill as bloated, underscoring fractures inside Trump's broader political orbit.
18, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
What we've done is put everything into one bill. It's never happened before. It's the biggest bill of its type in history.
But the agenda hit a wall when budget negotiations collapsed into a government shutdown, one that lasted a record 43 days, ending on November 12, 2025. Both parties blamed the other. Republicans said Democrats were holding the government hostage. Democrats said Republicans refused to protect healthcare subsidies.
Shutting it down. We're not shutting it down.
And they have taken the American people hostage.
The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far-left radicals in his own party.
Donald Trump and Republicans have barreled us into a shutdown because they refuse to protect Americans' health care.
The shutdown's consequences landed quickly, including warnings about disrupted food assistance for vulnerable Americans.
Democrats have caused the problem on food stamps. Of course, all they have to do is sign.
We are ready, we are willing, we are able to sit down with anyone, anytime, any place, including the president and the vice president.
As Democrats insisted they would not approve a budget without safeguards.
There'll be frustration. We are working with the airlines. They're going to work with passengers. But in the end, our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible.
Before some ultimately relented, after weeks of disruption across government services and travel, Congress finally passed a bill to reopen the government, with Trump signing it and declaring the country working again.
We're now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you. He's highly respected by everybody in this room. And John, I want to thank you very much. This is going to be...
Trump also followed through on a campaign theme that alarmed his critics, prosecuting political opponents. His former national security advisor, John Bolton.
No, I don't know about it. I saw it on television this morning. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. He's a real, sort of a lowlife.
Former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James were all drawn into cases critics say are politically motivated, as Comey called his own prosecution a sign of what the Justice Department had become, and Trump moved to remake the White House itself, ordering the demolition of the entire East Wing to build a ballroom, after earlier suggesting only partial removal.
I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence, and a reflection of what the Department of Justice has become under Donald Trump, which is heartbreaking.
Opponents called it a vanity project that sacrifices heritage for spectacle.
We determined that really knocking it down, trying to use a little section, you know, the East Wing was not much. There was not much left from the original. It was heading away, you know, they're driving happily to destroy the lives of people. And we are using little sections of footings and various other things, but that's sort of irrelevant.
While Trump tried to keep his focus on policy victories, controversy over Jeffrey Epstein remained a persistent political thorn.
You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today.
Trump opposed releasing Epstein-related files, then reversed course shortly before lawmakers voted on a bill to release them, which passed overwhelmingly. Republicans who pushed the vote framed it as accountability, even as the issue continued to divide Trump's coalition, in part because he had previously amplified Epstein conspiracy theories to his supporters. Trump's rhetoric stayed combative, sometimes even contradictory, lashing out at political opponents one moment, then striking a cordial tone the next.
On this vote, the yeas are 427, the nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
These women have fought the most horrific fight that no woman should have to fight, and they did it by banding together and never giving up. And that's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States.
This guy is a communist at the highest level, and he wants to destroy New York. I love New York, and we're not going to let him do that. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am.
National Guard troop is being trying to be resuscitated after a shooting.
Active scene, as you can see behind me, there are multiple blocks taped off. I've seen FBI.
2 uniformed guardsmen were ambushed in a brazen and targeted attack.
In late November, the spotlight returned to Trump's domestic deployments when 2 National Guardsmen were shot in Washington, one fatally. Prosecutors called it a targeted ambush. After authorities said the suspect was an Afghan national granted asylum, Trump seized on the attack to escalate his rhetoric, putting asylum applications on hold indefinitely and launching fresh attacks on migrants from what he called third world countries, comments that critics condemned as xenophobic. After 1 year, Trump's second term has been defined by a drive to remake institutions, from the military and the Fed to the machinery of government and even the White House itself, with supporters calling it delivery on promises, and opponents warning it is a sustained assault on democratic norms.
We don't want them. We don't want those people. We have enough problems. We don't want those people.
Is that a year, 2 years?
No time limit. I think we have a tremendous bench, really a tremendous bench. We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. Thank you very much.